Alright folks, I know it's been rolling in slowly, but we've got some new information about the upcoming King of the Hill revival, including apparent confirmation on the rumored time skip. So let's go over all the new information, and of course, speculate wildly. Okay, so if you just haven't heard the news about the King of the Hill revival at all, the gist of it is that Hulu has picked up a new season of the series, likely coming next year or the year after, and this comes after there had been rumors of a revival for years. The show is set to return with just about every living cast member reprising their roles. Mike Judge, Kathy Najimy, Pamela Adlon, Stephen Root, Johnny Hardwick, and Lauren Tom all confirmed to return. Further rumors claimed that the show would be more of a sequel series where we see a time skip and aged up characters about 15 years. Some claimed that Pamela Adlon's presence on the cast list deconfirmed the age up scenario, but I maintain that you just simply cannot have Bobby Hill exist without Pamela Adlon, regardless of age. She's an incredible voice actress, she's gonna nail it. And a recent Screen Rant interview with Stephen Root, aka Bill Dauterive, seemingly confirms the age up rumor, as well as gives us a few more juicy details about the show's production. Screen Rant asked Root about what Bill had been doing between the end of the series and now, and whether or not he cares more about his hairstyling or his barbecue. Here was Root's response. I think Bill, as the stumble bum that he is actually an excellent hair cutter, but I think his Louisiana roots make him probably the better barbecue maker. I would have to say the barbecue at this point. If Bill could even remember his name, I think we're going to time jump in this a little bit, so Bobby's gonna be older, and it's gonna be interesting. We're starting table reads in April, so I'm looking forward to it. So, a couple pieces of great info here. The table reads have seemingly started already, which means the VO recording will be coming shortly. I expect this puts the timeline at late 2024 or early 2025 for us to be seeing these episodes air, but we still don't even know how many episodes they're going to be producing yet. Obviously, the bigger piece of info here is that somebody actually involved in the revival has publicly stated that the show will see a time jump, and specifically that the characters will be aged up. How much older still remains to be seen. While the previous rumors from former Judge and Daniels collaborator Brent Forrester claimed 15 years, it's possible this wasn't perfectly accurate. Root does say we're going to time jump a little bit, and little bit doesn't exactly scream 15 years. However, he also claims that Bill might not be able to remember his own name, so Bill being old enough not to remember his own name might suggest a somewhat more substantial time jump. We also got a tiny bit more info from 20th Television Animation executive Marcy Proyetto, who when asked about the Futurama and King of the Hill revivals said, "I've always felt both shows had more stories to tell. Viewers can expect the same great humor and great writing they love. For Futurama, it's like catching up with old friends in the most amazing way, and for King of the Hill, it's like seeing characters we love with a slightly more modern sensibility." I can already hear the angry comments rolling in about how modern sensibilities means the show's gonna be woke now. Ooh. But modern sensibilities is exactly what King of the Hill should be dealing with. That's what the show has always been about. How the way the world changing conflicts with Hank's worldview. The comedy and the messages always stemmed from that conflict. Hank often finds some form of common ground, some kind of underlying integrity behind the things in life he fears or doesn't initially understand. He doesn't always entirely change his mind or change who he is, but he finds common ground. It's a great formula, and the show wouldn't work if they weren't dealing with current day sensibilities. And with the series ending on such a perfect note back in 2009, the age up confirmation is exactly what I was hoping for. I think To Sirloin with Love is an incredible ending for the show, and the idea of just making new King of the Hill episodes after that finale really rubbed me the wrong way. However, if you age up the characters, this all of a sudden becomes more of a sequel series than it does a revival or a reboot. It allows us to separate the original series from the new series and see them as separate things. And I still want this new thing to explore the same themes and ideas that the original does, and I think that aging up the characters will actually allow them to explore these themes even more thoroughly in a modern setting. If you've seen my other videos about the King of the Hill revival, you've heard me talk a bit about this, but the key to King of the Hill was always that generational divide between Hank and Bobby, how their differences create conflicts, and how they find common ground amongst those conflicts. But if you age up the characters 10 to 15 years, putting Bobby in his mid to late 20s and Hank in his 50s, you can bring in younger characters from the newer generation and then further showcase those generational conflicts, now with an added layer. The same way Hank struggled to understand Bobby, Bobby can now struggle to understand the kids coming up behind him generationally. And I also think adding new younger cast members can breathe some new life and give this iteration of King of the Hill an identity of its own. And I think those new younger cast members might just be right under our noses already. When the original series ended, there were two characters who were still babies: Hank's younger brother, Good Hank, and Luann and Lucky's daughter, Gracie. If we land the time jump at 13 years, these characters will be the same age that Bobby was in the original series. Plus, King of the Hill has always had a major focus on family. Making sure the new characters that are added to the mix have familial connections, I believe, is very important. Especially because the original show didn't really do all that much with GH after he was born. There are so many possibilities with him growing older, struggling to form a relationship with his significantly older brother, probably looking up to Bobby like a cool uncle despite actually being Bobby's uncle. I would love to see an episode where GH wants to learn more about his father, having never really known him. With Cotton's death towards the end of the original run, an older GH could turn to Hank or Bobby to learn more about the father he never knew. This could also give the show an opportunity to do some flashbacks and get some new Cotton scenes in the mix. And Gracie, I think, is equally important. With the tragic losses of both Brittany Murphy and Tom Petty, I don't see Judge or the King of the Hill staff recasting the roles of Luann or Lucky, and Luann is a major loss for the show. The original pilot of King of the Hill actually took place when Luann was moving into the Hill residence after her mother was sent to prison. I'm a little terrified of how they might write out Luann and Lucky, but however they do it, it would be incredibly fitting if we saw Gracie moving into the Hill residence in the revival's pilot, the same way Luann did in the original. It would also allow us to have a character that keeps the spirit of Luann alive, despite the devastating loss of Murphy. Honestly, maybe this is a bit too sentimental, but my pitch, they should cast Dakota Fanning as Gracie. Dakota Fanning and Brittany Murphy shared a really special connection on the film Uptown Girls. I always loved these quotes from Fanning after Murphy's death. She just taught me to always have fun. She was like such a ray of light and had such a playful spirit. So I think just she made every day special for me. She was so wonderful. I especially love describing her as a ray of light, especially alongside this clip of Brittany Murphy describing Luann.
She's a joy to be. She's bright and she lightens up all the dark corners of my head. She like comes from the brightest, most corner of my brain.
Fanning also has quality voice acting experience, including an excellent performance as the titular character in Coraline. I'd really love to see someone with a connection to Murphy carry on Luann's legacy, and I hope they consider Dakota. But utilizing GH and Gracie as both connections to the show's history of characters past, like Cotton and Luann, and as representatives from a new generation that conflict with not only Hank's sensibilities, but now Bobby's sensibilities, sounds like the perfect way to make this show feel new and worthwhile, while also keeping the spirit and themes of the original alive. Just please don't do a Luann's Angel episode like they did with Buckley's Angel. I honestly do not think my heart can take it. I also obviously really want to see where Hank and Bobby are at this point. Is Hank finally managing Strickland, or are we going to be treated to a sad reality in which he's still assistant manager after all these years? And what about Bobby? Where did he go to school? Is he moving back home for the first time since graduating? Is he still pursuing comedy? Is he pursuing cooking or culinary arts? Honestly, if it were up to me, I'd love to see him combining both, doing comedic cooking videos on YouTube or TikTok. This would both create another obstacle for Hank, who I'm sure would immensely struggle to understand that kind of job or career, and also create an outlet for Bobby to reconcile his own sensibilities with the younger generation who might be consuming his content. I just think there's a lot of possibilities with the time skip. I'm excited. The aged up premise also slightly alleviates some of my ongoing concerns about the state of animation and media in general. It would have been so easy for them to just say, okay, King of the Hill is back, just like it was before. That's what sells right now, nostalgia. Instead, they're going the more creative route, and they're letting the series evolve into something new. And while that is bound to upset some people because some people are afraid of change, it is undoubtedly the more hopeful and stronger creative decision. So overall, assuming that Stephen Root isn't mistaken here, this is very encouraging news, in my opinion, of course. And I'm sure as the months roll on, we'll get more little tidbits of information about this revival, but don't expect to see anything substantial until quite a bit into next year. But what do you guys think? Is the aged up premise something you want to see, or would you prefer the show just went on business as usual? Let me know below in the comments, and of course, stay tuned for more. Peace.
Johnny to Cellos.